Welcome back to this playthrough for Fallout New Vegas. In this video, what we're going to be doing is the quest Old School Ghoul, which is technically an unmarked quest, but it's Raul's companion quest, basically. And at the end of it, you can get a nice, companion perk for him. So, might as well go ahead and knock that out right now to basically improve his performance, as it were. So what I did is I went ahead and went to Nellis Air Force Base so I could locate Loyal fairly quickly to get this going after talking to Raul. So as soon as I load the game, we'll talk to Raul and then Loyal, and then we'll just kind of get this thing going.
Not to worry, boss. I'm sure killing the boss of one of the families will in no way lead to savage, bloody reprisals against you and your loved ones. Questions, boss? You mean you don't know everything there is to know already? Just how old do you think I am, boss? Because I can pretty much guarantee I'm older than that. Let me tell you a story from before the Great War. Everybody knew Robert House. He was a genius, a superstar. Founded Ramco at 22. Dated Hollywood starlets, the works. They say he saved Las Vegas. I was in Mexico City when the bombs dropped. Even from there, we could see House's defensive rockets shooting down the incoming missiles. Everybody assumed he died in the war. Maybe he did. But his robots are still out there roaming the waste. And now, Mr. House rules New Vegas.
Not anymore.
I remember there was some weird stories about him, especially near the end. There was a tell-all in El Periódico de las Aburridas by a starlet house game. She said they never, but don't make me spell it out, boss. Anyway, she said all he wanted to do was scan her brain and make her dress up in different outfits. It was quite the scandal. At least in the Latin American tabloid journalism market. Maybe not. Maybe the new guy is just a clever raider chief with knowledge of history. Maybe he just left instructions for his robots to carry out in his name. Or maybe Robert House uploaded his brain pattern into a computer and rules to this day a godless, soulless machine god. Maybe the whole thing's a crazy coincidence. Who knows? You're a veritable geyser of curiosity, boss. Benny, huh? Sorry, boss. Doesn't ring a bell. Then again, my brain isn't as sharp as it used to be. You're a veritable geyser of... You're all right, I suppose. Had a bit of a tough going there at the beginning. You know their first town was nearly wiped out by raiders. Anyway, they got their good points and their bad. Just like a lot of the old governments from before the war. I don't really have a problem with that. People around here tend to see them as invading marauders planning to burn and pillage the countryside. But I've been to Arizona, boss. Before the Legion, it was a nasty place. So thick with raiders you couldn't trade with a town 2 miles up the road. Caesar's laws aren't nice, and their actions aren't always pretty. But then neither am I. But you keep me around.
Fair point.
It's big, it's bright, and it's one of the biggest cities still left from before the war. Well, mostly anyway. Used to be just a curiosity. The buildings were pre-war, but it's just as full of raiders and barbarian tribes as any place else. Then Mr. House took over, got the power turned back on, and got the tribes reformed into something civilized. And now they run his casinos for him. Sure, boss. What do you want to know? You forget about me already, boss? You sure you didn't take a blow to the head or something? My name is Raul Alfonso Tejada.
Well, I mean, I dig. It's a little bit more than a blow, but let's continue.
Probably because it used to be Miguel's. I'm an open book, boss. Granted, the book's in Spanish and some of the pages have fallen out, but I'm an open book. I'm not much use besides being a portable encyclopedia, really. I guess you could use me as a pack Brahmin, but my knees aren't so good anymore. That's nice of you to say, boss. But I'm an old man. Not much use to anybody anymore. Time was. I was a pretty good shot with a pistol. I guess I'm still half decent. These old bones aren't much use in hand-to-hand fighting, though. I can also do maintenance work on your stuff. I don't have the supplies for a real repair job, but I can keep your gear working longer. Yeah, maybe you can introduce them to me, if we find them, because I've never met one.
You will hear momentarily.
I'm an open book, boss. I was born just outside Mexico City. My family had a little ranch there. Old enough to know better, boss. Old enough to know better. Well, boss, when a giant, insane super mutant asks you to stay put, you do what you're told. Well, maybe you don't. But I'm just a broke-down old man. It's stupid, boss. I used to listen to the radio broadcast, just to pass the time. Well, one day the signal stopped, so I figured I'd try to find a transmitter. I'm a pretty good repairman. Or I was before my eyes started to go. Anyway, I found Black Mountain and offered my services. But Tabitha decided I was useful enough to keep around permanently. I'm an open... Anything to hold your attention, boss.
Yes, that's it.
Sure, boss.
Hey, where did the world? There he is.
Isn't that bomber a beauty? Thanks so much for making an old man's dreams come true. See ya.
I can't believe we were allowed inside the Lucky 38. That place has been a legend since before the war. Anything you say, boss. That's a good thing to see, huh, boss?
Okay, that was weird. Okay, continuing.
That loyal guy. He's getting up there in years, but he still finds a way to make himself useful to his people. If you ask me, that's better than withering away all alone or holding on to some faded piece of glory from your past. Yeah, that's what I thought too. Old history, boss. I grew up in a place called Hidalgo Ranch, just outside Mexico City. It wasn't much, just a bit of a farm, with a house for 3 generations at the hut. I wasn't the best behaved kid. I was quick with my hand, with a pistol or a wrench. And I wasn't afraid to get into fights anyway. I never killed anybody, but I had my share of run-ins with the police. Mostly my family kept me out. This was before the war. We were far enough away from Mexico City when the bombs fell that we missed the worst of it. But things got bad quick. Just a few days after Mexico City was vaporized, refugees started pouring down the road to our ranch. We helped who we could, but there were so many. Eventually, my father started turning people away before we ran out of food. Things got violent. My father and I got our guns, and we drove them off. About 24 men came back in the night after we'd gone to sleep. They set fire to the ranch house and barred the doors from the outside. My whole family was trapped inside. I smelled the smoke, and I got myself and my little sister Rafaela out through a window with everyone else. My parents, my grandmother, my 2 brothers, and 2 of my sisters all died. Rafaela and I ran. He was pursued by some of the men who attacked our home, but I was always a good shot. The ones who came after us, I killed. The rest, I left be. I had to take care of Rafaela, not throw my life away on revenge. Maybe. I don't know. All I know is that for all my skills with a pistol, I couldn't help it. Anyway, that was weighing on my mind. Thanks for letting me get it out in the open, boss.
Alright, well that's part one of the quest. Yeah, I guess I could save the game. Alright, so go to Camp Karen. And another reason why I want to do this is because you can see my reputation with the NCR is starting to hit the mixed portion, so before things get too bad, I'm going to go ahead and deal with them. Ooh, raiders. Looking for an old guy here by the name of Corporal Sterling. I have not done the 3-card bounty, so he should definitely still be here. Probably in this tent, I would guess.
This whole war's gonna change when the Ranger veterans get here. Soon as we see the black armor, we can all breathe easier.
Well, that's what you think. Is that him? Yes, it is. Awesome.
Howdy. Name's Sterling, First Recon. Can't say I've seen you before. I'd remember if I had. Got a good memory for faces, landmarks and such too. Comes with practice, that's all, and a lot of scouting from place to place. I call her the Long Carabine. Didn't always have the scope. I added that myself. Been shooting with her so long, couldn't bring myself to toss her away. Would have felt guilty to part with the old girl. The other snipers used bolt action, but Gorbets reckoned it didn't matter none if I was different, so long as I could hit my targets. Used to be a ranger, one of the first they sent out east back before we took the dam. Observation and reconnaissance. We took the lay of the land, checked out the locals, and kept ourselves inconspicuous. A couple friends of mine were the first to scout the dam. That was back in '73, if I recall. A lot of those rangers are dead now. Vegas always chewed men up. It's just a little more literal nowadays. Well, that wasn't really a matter of choice. Got myself caught by legionaries up near Malpay. They had themselves some fun with me. Mangled my hands and feet pretty good. Wasn't much good with the pistol after that. Wasn't gonna be trekking across the waste on any more long scouts either. Caesar's boys figured I wasn't going anywhere after what they'd done to me, so they didn't bother tying me up. I crawled out of there on my elbows and knees. Must have looked a sight. Then I rolled down an embankment into the Colorado. Guess I had a mind to drown rather than give Caesar's boys the satisfaction of killing me. But a couple rangers happened to be watching from across the river. They jumped on in and pulled me out of there. Lucky break, they said. Going on 6 months now, but I reckon we'll be moving out soon enough. Can't talk about the details. Till then, we'll man the towers and keep an eye on the fiends. We've had more than our share of trouble from their direction. Whole thing smells of Caesar to me. Of course, that's just guesswork. But I'd still bet a few caps he's stirring up the locals against us. Always a pleasure. Keep yourself safe.
Guess we just wait for Raul to respond.
Got a second to talk, boss?
Sure. Okay, got it.
Meeting Corporal Sterling. Well, it kind of got me thinking. Here's a guy that's been beat all to hell, right? I mean, he could have retired from the service. but instead he signs back on and does what he can. You think he did the right thing? You think so, boss? Because I remember a time when a lot of people stuck to their duty no matter what. It ended with nuclear bombs falling on my hometown. After the fire, I knew my sister and I couldn't stay at Hidalgo Ranch anymore. The refugees still wanted me dead. They even put a bounty on me. I remember how scared Rafaela was. I told her if she came with me, we'd see the vaqueros. She used to love the rodeo, especially the trick rider. We figured maybe we could find help in Mexico City. We were young. We didn't know what had happened, really. We didn't understand about the bombs. I don't think it was as hard hit as D.C. or Bakersfield, but it was bad enough. By the time we got there, the city was a radioactive ruin. Still, the city was full of looters, already forming into the beginnings of raider tribes. Crime was bad before the war, but now it was a nightmare. We were living like scavengers, scraping by on what little food we could find, always looking for medicine for my burns. And then, of course, the radiation started to kick in, turning me into this handsome devil you see before you. You're a poet of understatement, boss. But there were moments it was almost worth it. I still remember finding that novelty costume shop. I was just looking around for something I could slice up to wrap my burns when I saw the vaquero outfit hanging on the rack, like it hadn't been touched. I took it, not like anybody else needed it, you know? And wore it back to our camp. Rafaela laughed. For the first time since the bombs had fallen. I started to build up a legend. Sometimes it headed off trouble, but most of the times it just started more. Young punks looking to prove themselves would come looking for me, but my eyes were sharp and my guns were quick. For a while, it seemed like we might even survive there, until Rafaela. She went out to find some food one day. I was sick, so I stayed at our camp. I guess it must have been the beginning of radiation poisoning. Anyway, it was supposed to be safe, but some raiders happened to pass through where she was scavenging. I won't speak of what they did to her. When I found her body, the only way to recognize her was this funny little scar on her knee from when she was a little girl. Terrible doesn't begin to cover it, boss. I led my whole family down. First the ranch, now Rafaela. I was the last Tejada. I guess maybe I went a little crazy then. I took my guns and went back to that market. I didn't have many bullets, but I had enough. After the raiders were dead, I salvaged what I could from the store. I was tired. I just wanted to be alone forever. I left Mexico City behind. I made my way out to the Gulf Coast. Eventually, I found an old Petro Chico refinery nobody had claimed. I stayed there for a little while, and I thought a lot about my life. I thought about the guns I'd lived by, and what they'd gotten me. I decided my guns hadn't gotten me anything, and it was time to give it up. I took off the old vaquero outfit and put on a Petro Chico jumpsuit. The name tag said Miguel, so I started using the name myself. Eventually, I made it to Arizona. That's another story, boss.
Patrolling the Mojave almost makes you wish for a nuclear winter.
I gotta say, Raul does have a pretty tragic backstory. Moving on. Next stopping point. We all the way back down in Novak. You would think it'd be daytime by the time I got here. Whatever. Oh, look, another trader. Keep trying to buy my microfusion cells from those people because it's kind of hard to find. You don't see them at the gun runners, basically.
We haven't met yet. You must be new in town. I'm Andy. Right now, a whole lot of sitting on my keister and counting cracks in the ceiling. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. On better days, I help keep the peace. Boone and Vargas watch the road. I watch the town. Tell myself I'm doing some good. Was with them. That was back when my arm and leg used to work better. I still like to pretend I'm a ranger, though. I'll check in with the guys up at the station pretty regular on the ham radio. Sometimes they stop by, tell me they're paying their respects, the smug bastards. They haven't been responding to me last couple days. I guess they got tired of hearing me talk, but it still got me a little worried. Hell, listen to me talk, like some damn mother hen. Yeah, who am I kidding? It's funny, you get stuck in your room for a few weeks, and you start to worry the world's gonna fall apart without you. Those guys are fine. They don't need me looking over their shoulders. They're the NCR's finest. A one-man platoon, each of them. You got a job where even thinking about it would scare a man senseless? That's when you bring in the Rangers. And if you see a squad of veterans, guys who are in their black armor, well, you won't find a more beautiful sight. Yeah, twice. Actually, the first time, it was more like half my body. Knocked me out of the Rangers. This time, it's mostly just reminded me how useless I've gotten. A few years back, we get a tip that some Legion slavers were holed up in this burnt-out house a few clicks from where we were stationed. We get there and it's deserted. No sign anyone's been there. I mean, nothing. As we're leaving, I hear something behind me. I turn around and there's this kid, just skin and bone, and he's looking up at us and he's scared half to death. Been hiding in a closet. I go to grab him out of there and I notice he's holding something in his hand. Something metal. He shuts himself back in the closet and that's when I see the grenade he's left by my feet. They do it a lot, the Legion, using kids. They know we'll hesitate. Anyway, that was the first time. Second time I fell down those stairs in front of the motel, just in case I got to thinking I'd put it all behind me. Huh. People don't exactly line up to find out what's in my head. Can't remember the last time someone suggested I knew something worth knowing. You know, maybe there's something I can do for you. Since you've gone to all the trouble of flattering a crippled old soldier, there's a move we have in the Rangers for knocking an opponent off his feet. Saved my butt a bunch of times, maybe it will for you too. Let me show you how it's done.
That'd be cool if I actually used unarmed combat.
Hey, boss. Can I ask you something? What do you think of guys like Ranger Andy? I mean, guys who have a world of experience doing what they do, but have to give it up because they're getting old and slow or too injured. Maybe, yeah. I guess you got a point there. Not really, boss. No. I left everything when I left Mexico. My home, my family, my name, even my face. I know it's surprising, boss, but I wasn't always just handsome. As far as the world knows, I was Miguel, and I was okay with that. I headed north for a while, and ended up in Tucson. Not Tucson, by the way. Things were good there. Well, maybe not good, but better than Mexico City anyways. I found myself a little shack, started fixing things. Oh sure, boss. I was always good at fixing things. Some I fixed for the town, some I fixed for other people, some I fixed just for the hell of it. It's a better way to use your hands than killing. And even then, I wasn't getting any younger or faster. I lived there for a long time, kept to myself, didn't get into any fights. Hell, the only reason I even kept my guns oiled was professional pride. Getting there, boss. I'd been in Tucson. The locals can call it Tucson all they want, but it's Tucson, damn it. About 75 years when she showed up. Prettiest thing you ever saw, boss. Maybe it was just a trick of my senile brain, but I swear she looked just like my Rafaela. Her name was Claudia. She ended up taking work at one of the brothels in town. I never went to her, of course. How could I? But I looked after her in my own way. This was a long time ago, before Caesar's Legion pacified Arizona, and brought the raider tribes to heel. A tribe came into Tucson one day. More a gang, really. Dirty Dave and his 6 brothers. They were looking for bullets, and I sold some to them. I figured if I did that, they'd leave town before they tore it up too much. No, boss. No, they didn't. As I was saying, I hoped they'd leave the town in peace. Instead, they decided to stop at Claudia's brothel to take the edge off. I don't know which one of them got rowdy first, but by the time I heard the screams and got my guns, it was too late. They shot up the brothel, killed 4 girls, and taken Claudia for their sport. I went after Dave and his brothers. They had a head start, but they slept nights. I didn't. Took me 3 days to catch up to them. Claudia was dead when I got there. They put a bullet in each of her eyes. I couldn't do anything except avenge her, just like Rafaela. I charged into the middle of their camp and started firing. 2 of them were dead before they knew I was there. The other 5, though, they shot the shit out of me. I would have died, I think, if I wasn't so full of rage. By being a meaner old cuss than the rest of them, boss. I wanted to keep living until they weren't. So I just kept shooting until they were all dead. I was in pretty bad shape in the end, though. I don't know how long I laid there, with the sun baking me and the buzzards chomping at me. Eventually, I got the strength to start moving. Some long time after that, I managed to drag my carcass back to town. When I recovered, more or less anyways, I left Tucson and headed west. I ran into Tabitha at Black Mountain, and well, the rest you know. I swore I was done with the gunslinging life. I was too old, too slow, and too beat up to protect anyone anymore. I thought I was done forever, but after traveling with you, I realized I've always had my doubts about whether I still had what it took to carry my pistols proudly, to use them to do what's right. And now that I've been traveling with you for a while, you made me realize that I could still do that. Maybe I'm not as tough as I used to be, but my brains can make up for that. And my hands are still quick enough. It's time to put the guns back on.
Heck yeah, it is.
You can bet on that, boss.
Now he's a floating head in the background. You're still wearing the armor I gave you, right?
I expect to be awed by your dizzying mercantile sense.
Okay. Yeah, cool outfit, but let's go with the armor. Okay. Yep, there you go. That's the old school Ghoul, and as you can tell, he's got a 5.56 millimeter pistol. Actually, that gun that you could buy here isn't of any use with his old Vaquero. I don't know if you can look up his I can go up look at his perks basically. I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, he'll be able to shoot 33% faster with basically revolvers and lever action guns. There's a list of them that you can look up on the wiki, but that happens to be one of the pistols that he can use pretty well. I might, when I get some more money, might try to get him a hunting revolver. That's probably the best pistol he can get. So either that or a brush gun basically would probably be the best weapon that he can use. So that might be something I'll look into getting him eventually. But yeah, for now, that's it. Old Raul is... We've heard his entire backstory, which is pretty dang tragic, really. Probably one of the saddest stories for any of the companions in this game. Well, I don't know. There's a lot of them that have some pretty tragic backstories, but anyway, Raul's actually a pretty decent companion. I do like him, and not only that, he's also fairly tolerant to the Legion, so that makes using him now a good choice since this is a Legion run. Anyway, oh, one other thing I want to point out real quick. If you don't do the quest over there at the Repcon launch pad area, and you do play the post-game stuff that's available with the with all the mods here. If you don't do that quest, this town gets overrun by a bunch of ghouls, which is a bit crazy, but that's what happens. But then again, to be honest, it's kind of neat that they add the post-game stuff, but it's also kind of pointless. But, you know, there you have it. Anyway, that'll do it for this video. So thank you very much for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.